obviously you're in the moment when you're on the ground, you're concentrating, you might hear a few things thrown at you, but I'd imagine it just washes off you because you're concentrating. When you go to the games as a spectator, which you do occasionally, are you surprised at the anger in the crowd and the vehemence in the crowd, not only towards the umpires, but in general?
Look, it's interesting you say that, Nick. I went to the Anzac Day game this year. I had a colleague down from Sydney who hadn't been to a game before, and I thought, well, that's not a bad introduction to AFL football, the Anzac Day game. And look, I was really surprised, just with the veracity of the crowd, the energy in there. Well, I think it went beyond barracking in terms of their thoughts about what the umpires were doing, what the opposition players were doing, and it really actually caught me by surprise to the point where I actually went back home after that game and I watched the replay because I was thinking, well, okay, perhaps I'm seeing something that other people aren't seeing, but I didn't see anything out of that game. Look, there were a few contentious decisions towards the end of the game, but pushing those ones aside, in terms of the way that the game was played and the spirit it was played in, there was nothing out of the ordinary. So it did catch me by surprise.
How do you handle, as a human being, how do you handle the abuse?
Look, to be honest with you, Nick, I've never really felt the wrath of any particular abuse. I think those umpires that do their job week in, week out at suburban leagues and country leagues, I think they're probably more exposed to it than what we are. Certainly, when you're in a packed stadium, you're not really hearing any particular points of opinion. Coming off the ground at half time and at the end of the game, there might be a few people that might want to yell out and carry on, but you're only there for a brief moment in time and it doesn't really impact.
As the senior umpire, how did you react when one of your colleagues a few weeks ago famously pointed out someone in the crowd who he thought had abused him? Do you think that was a line in the sand, and did you think that was legitimate?
Look, having come off the ground many times over my career, for the circumstances to be such that we would need to point out security, I think would have been quite extreme circumstances. Look, having said that, umpiring over in Perth in Subiaco, they had to install a barricade over the race when we were leaving the ground because of people hanging over and perhaps dropping the odd drink out of their glasses. Even coming off Adelaide Oval many years ago, I can remember having M&Ms thrown at us. But I think my colleagues were most upset then because they were only throwing the brown ones and not the
not the good ones.
Not the good ones.
But I mean, that's a great attitude to have towards it. But did you guys, during that particular incident, there was so much publicity? Do you guys sort of circle the wagon, and do you express support for each other when someone goes out on a limb like he did? Do you express support because it's only human nature, but he must have felt under siege?
Look, Matt Nichols, he's a very experienced umpire, over 300 league games. He would have reacted in a way that he thought was appropriate in the circumstances. But absolutely, when our colleagues are challenged like that on a particular weekend, then we'll certainly support each other. Look, it's as we maintain that if we can't support each other within our group, we're really going to be struggling to try and find a more higher level of support outside our own four walls. So we are pretty tight.